ආයුබෝවන් සුබ සන්ධ්‍යාවක්. දැන් වෙලාව හරියටම පස්වරු 2:20 මිනිත්තු 25යි. අද 2024 වර්ෂයේ දෙසැම්බර් මාසයේ 7 වෙනිදා සෙන්සුරාදා දවස. සෙන්සුරාදා දවස කියලා කියන්නේ ගුණජය සතුරු පදනමට වගේම good news radio අපටත් සුවිශේෂී දවසක්. ඉතින් මේ සුවිශේෂී දවසේ තවත් එක් සුවිශේෂී වැඩසටහනක් ආරම්භ කරන්නටයි මේ සූදානම. ඉතින් අද මැදිරියට හැමදාමත් වගේම Ask the Founder segment එකත් එක්ක ඇවිල්ලා ඉන්නවා ගුණජය සතුරු පදනමේ ගරු නිර්මාතෘතුමා සභාපතිතුමා ගරු කුෂිල් ගුණසේකර මැතිතුමන්. ඉතින් එතුමන්ට අද රාජකාරී බොහොමයක් පිරිච්ච දවසක්. ඉතින් ඒ දවසෙත් එතුමන් ඔබව අමතන්නට අද good news radio නාලිකාවට පැමිණියා. ඉතින් ඒ වගේම අද මැදිරියට තවත් සුවිශේෂී ආරාධ්‍ය මුත්තන් දෙන්නෙක් ඇවිල්ලා ඉන්නවා. ඉතින් ඉංග්‍රීසි මාධ්‍යයෙන් මාත් එක්ක කතා කරන්නට එනවා කොම්පියර් කරන්නට අද ඇවිල්ලා ඉන්නවා සශිකලා. ඉතින් අපි සුපුරුදු පරිදි ආරම්භ කරමු Ask the Founder segment එක. ආයුබෝවන්.
ආයුබෝවන්. සෙත් වේවා කියලා ප්‍රාර්ථනා කරනවා. මම සශිකලා is our usual Saturday, volunteer who's been coming for 2 years. So every time I get an opportunity, I want to, praise and value her effort because she's done, I haven't seen anyone, I keep saying this all the time, but never is enough when you do something like that, where you come from Colombo every Saturday at your age, and then you come here and try to teach our kids who are eager to learn English. So we are very, very grateful, Sashikala. For 2 years, every Saturday, either you have a way to charm your father and mother, or the in-laws, or in the train. So, but nevertheless, you're here, and what a pleasure to have you, and great privilege. Even I couldn't do what you did at your age.
Thank you, Kushal, for those kind words, and a very good afternoon to all of you. You are listening to the Good News Radio on Saturday, the 7th of December, and the time right now is 2:27 p.m. So as usual, the Good News Radio team is here to bring the good and the very best what we can offer in society. So another beautiful Saturday afternoon here at the Senigama Center of Excellence. Of course, we are missing our usual team lead Vishmi today. I think she is away on some medical leave. So Vishmi,
and we are wishing her a speedy recovery to regain normalcy. And she's done some amazing work. Actually, this place is, you feel so empty without her. She's a live wire who actually gets things going with a very articulate, singular, comparing style. Words are flowing. I just can't imagine how good she is. But we feel very sorry that she's under this temporary, recovery period. So we wish her nothing but the best to, and also, secure all the blessings, and may her ailments, disappear fast.
Yes, Vishmi. So we, all of us here, are wishing you a speedy recovery, and we are sure that you will be back here in no time. But at the same time, we have our usual, we have Patun here, we have Natali, and then we have a newbie as well. So they will all take...
You have to tell her name.
Yes, maybe you can introduce yourself.
I'm Hasini. I'm 22 years old, and now I am doing nothing special nowadays.
But I'm glad that you can speak English. Very good, excellent. Yeah, very nice.
Yeah, and the fact that
Hasini,
you are in the Good News Radio.
And Hasini has actually followed the IT course and also done comparing. She also comes to the Good News segment with Natali. Natali is bossing her around, always trying to speak. She's confident, very smart.
Very good, very good. Good to see the Good News Radio growing, and good to see the impact the Good News Radio can also make in not just availing listeners about the content, but also giving opportunities for people to come and learn the art of radio crafting. So who knows, maybe we will hear someone on air very soon. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, we will quickly move on to the Ask the Founder segment. And right after that segment, we have a guest we would like to speak to, Grace, and we will be speaking to 2 other volunteers as well. So to start off with the Ask the Founder segment with our founder, Mr. Kushal Gunasekara, here today. So, today is the 7th of December, and the next few weeks are a very, very busy time at the Foundation of Goodness. So many packed agendas going around, and it is, of course, a remarkable time and a very special time for many reasons. So I think the best person to hear that would be from Mr. Kushal Gunasekara. So Kushal, why don't you enlighten us about the specialty of the next few weeks as well as the 21st of December?
Yeah, Sashika, thanks very much. And, when I started the foundation in 1999, and I couldn't believe that time has lapsed so fast, and in the process, so many things have happened. So it's about 25 years now, from those humble beginnings, how we have got here. But at the same time, it's after 5 years of doing some, very good work to change the landscape, with opportunities, purpose, training, facilities and exposure, as I always say, with the 2 adjoining villages and my village, and about 5 schools in the region. I never would have thought, ever believed that we could get to where we are today with 20 empowerment centers island-wide and the flagship venue in Sinigama, the Center of Excellence, and the Sports Academy. So technically 22, and about, the count this year is about 10,000 studying or doing sports in this, institution. So I'm glad that we've been able to get that far and turn the setback of the tsunami into some form of a blessing. It's the adversity that struck, but I want to convey this message to everyone who's listening, that adversity is not really something that you have to take as your life is coming to an end. But on the other hand, there are other doors that open, and if you know how to go and embrace the change and turn that into productivity, I think there's a lot of hope in life. It's not how you fall, but how many times you get up, right? So and only through failure that you can actually raise the bar, strive for excellence, and get to where you want to go to. So it's been an amazing journey of 25 years, but I couldn't believe that it has flown so fast. We have aged gracefully with the projects that we've been doing hugely, and also the 20th tsunami anniversary, tsunami commemoration. So 25th anniversary is being of the FOG is being held actually on the 21st of December, 2 Saturdays from now. But it is also to, it's like Thanksgiving, because if not for all the donors, the volunteers, every little whoever who was able to, help in numerous ways, is thought of on that day, and to thank them for helping us to do what we do best in enriching humanity. And so everyone who's coming on that day could be perhaps about 100. They're all stakeholders of the Foundation of Goodness. So, I've been able to see this contribution reach the levels that where we wanted to in terms of bridging this urban-rural divide. And I know hundreds and hundreds of stories where they have gone into levels that I can't even think of. And that's the way I wanted them to, make that change, like you and me or Grace or, everyone, who might see for the future, like, Natali or Sini or Pathum. They're all, raring to go. And you need to give them that platform to make that happen. So we've done that. we've been able to harness the waves of compassion from all over the world to overpower the waves of destruction. The day comes to my mind when everything was in ruin, debris and rubble and decimated. And I had, two choices, either to leave or to take on the challenge. And fortunately, I was able to embrace that change, because nothing lasts forever. Everything is impermanent. And then we kept going. And, nothing has also multiplied like kindness. And goodness is the one investment that never fails. So, and then then comes the very solemn, spiritual, reflective, commemoration of the 20th tsunami, and that is quite a sad event for a lot of people because they bring back memories. But whatever is in the past has gone, and what is in the future we don't know, and future is unknown. So we try to balance both. It's not to brag or boast or whatever, but it's a celebration of the rural life coming to light, and illuminating that path, because they have so much potential, and that itself is what we want to celebrate.
Beautifully said, I believe. Rural light and illuminating the path for our rural people, our very own people. And I think the Foundation of Goodness has done that beautifully. And 25 years for anything is a long time, yet alone a foundation, like a NGO, what we call. So I've seen many of those foundations, NGOs, they just don't sometimes have the capacity to sustain for a few years even, and seeing that the foundation has sustained for 25 years, and I'm sure for 25 more, I think is remarkable. And maybe just one last question, and I'm sure in the coming weeks also, of course, we will speak about this 25 years. So leaving most of it for then, let me just ask one question. What, in your opinion, what do you think are the top 2 to 3 things that help the foundation to sustain for so long?
Yeah, I think firstly, when you run a non-governmental organization, serving humanity, the first thing is it's about being accountable, transparent, and surpassing their own expectations. And the most important thing to me is when you help people, it has to be unconditional, right? Peace begins when you don't expect anything in return. So, and whatever people may say, if your journey is with purity of intentions, compassion, humaneness, and in a disciplined way, your aspiration is only to uplift those in real need, then you sincerely wish for that, and there's always the universe connecting us to like-minded people like yourself and like the volunteers we have had, over the years. We've had 2,000 volunteers in 20 years, right? So if you take England, we have 255 English schools come and play cricket in our village, or 75 Australian schools. So we've had that, go globally. And what is more important, finally and lastly, and I think is no amount of social media marketing or whatever you do, the word of mouth is what is, critical and an integral part of our own journey, because we raise something like US dollars $1.2 to $1.5 million every year. So now we are at about $26 million in the last 20 years. So there's been a huge impact. And I think if you do it without any agendas, without any ulterior motives, as pure as it can get, then that universe picks those up and then gives it to you at the time you want. But you got to manage meticulously with standards, systems, quality, discipline, and the vision. then hopefully you can get there.
Okay, so I asked for 2 to 3 things and I heard many things. Let me try to recap. So accountability, transparency, surpassing donor expectations, and also maintaining the quality and sustaining standards and all of that. And I think one thing Kushal always talks about, but not today, is the base of all this, I believe, is the value system, the strong value system that all of this is built upon. So yes, so that's a little bit about the Ask the Founder segment for today. Of course, we will continue this, especially on the 21st, hopefully, if we have the time. I'm not sure, but definitely from the 21st and beyond, we will be speaking about the 25 years of the Foundation of Goodness. And post the celebratory event, we will also have more insights to add as well.
And what next after the 25 years?
Yes, so what next? How do we look at the next 25?
No, but I think, there comes a point that you have to start sustaining the Foundation of Goodness through its own enterprise avenues, So we got to about 25% of our, revenue generation. And I think my goal is to see that we are not donor dependent anymore. So we were struck by the tsunami, decimated to the ground, and then we rose like a lotus flower from mud, and then grew around the whole of the country with 22 empowerment centers. And just to sustain that would be the icing on the cake. But that's a very hard grind. But we are on that roadmap now.
I think Kushal, today's most important point Kushal just mentioned, which I wasn't also aware of the number. So 25% of what's needed to sustain the Foundation of Goodness is actually self-sustained by the foundation. So I think that's a very, very important point, because usually NGOs are 100% donor funded. So 25% is a huge number, and I think that goes down to the clear vision of Kushal wanting to knowing the exact number which he wants to increase.
And that's about 100 million rupees.
Wow, 100 million in self-sustenance revenue generation. That's remarkable. I'm not sure if I've heard that about an NGO before, so that's truly remarkable, and I think that's another point I'd like to discuss in the coming weeks, right? Okay, so thank you very much, Kushal.
No worries.
And
pleasure to help.
Ladies and gentlemen, with that we end the Ask the Founder segment, and we'll move on directly to our next segment, which is the Good Volunteer segment. So before we start talking with our 2 volunteers who are present here today, we also have a lovely visitor who had visited the Foundation of Goodness. Hi Grace, welcome to the Good News Radio.
Hi, good afternoon, Sashika.
Yes.
Lovely to have you.
Lovely
to be here.
Yes, thank you. Lovely to have you as well. And I will hand over to Natali to maybe start the question.
We have this English little star. So she is very, very keen to ask questions. She loves this Good News Radio segment. So we need to encourage these young stars to speak English. So, yep.
Thank you. And I will ask a question. So our teacher says that you are a visitor. So what do you think about this institute? Did you visit here before?
No, so this is the first time I've come here and to actually see Nigama itself. And I walked through the doors last night and was struck with the positivity that you feel immediately as you walk through the doors. And this morning, walking around, I've met some wonderful people, teachers, volunteers, children just like yourself, who are all here to improve and get better in life. So really positive.
So I'd like to know about you. First.
So a bit about me, Grace. I'm English, from the northeast of England. Fortunate to have been travelling around Sri Lanka before, but currently working in the Middle East as a management consultant. So coming into businesses and helping them with any problems they might have. So really interesting line of work.
Did you travel here alone or with anyone?
Yes, so I'm on my own. As I've mentioned, I've been in Sri Lanka for the past 5 years. and have had the chance to move around the country, but this is the first time here in Sinigama, so very much enjoying it.
So when you talk about English people, what is the difference between us, like Sri Lankan people?
Wow, that's a really good question. I would say the first thing to think about is when you speak to someone, probably the same in Sri Lanka, you'll begin to hear where they're from their accent. So, for example, in the south of England, you've got lots of dialects, from Cornwall all the way through to Kent, which is another county. And then as you move further up the country, you begin to get more and more distinctive accents. So my place where I come from is called Newcastle, and actually I don't have an accent. My voice is very neutral. It's quite easy to understand, I think, my accent. But actually I'm not normal. Everybody else has got a very strong accent. So yeah.
Thank you. And I think, how long you stay here?
Sure. So I'm lucky to be remote working in December, and then I'll go home to the UK for Christmas, and then back to work in the Middle East after Christmas. Yeah.
Okay. That's my questions. Thank you.
Thank you so much. A pleasure. And what about you? How long have you been interviewing guests?
I think about 2 or 3 months. I was in the foundation. I was in the Foundation of Goodness in this year, 3rd month, I think, March, and I attend to this Good News Radio in before about 3 months. So from the first day, in the first day also I have interviewed a volunteer. So from the first day, since to today, I have interviewed volunteers.
Fantastic. You're doing a great job, so keep it up. Well done.
Thank you very much.
She's our English little star, Natali.
Thank you. All right. Thank you, Natali. Thanks a lot for conducting that interview. And now, ladies and gentlemen, so Grace, it's been an absolute pleasure to speak to you and discuss with you over lunch, etc. So thanks a lot for visiting the Foundation of Goodness. And I'm sure that you will be back very soon. Yes. Right, so next up we have 2 of our volunteers in our Good Volunteers segment. So I think I will let Kushal introduce them and then we will take it from there.
Yeah, we're very fortunate again to have 2 of our, super volunteers who've been here now for almost a month, I think. They are from England. And the University of Worcester. This is the second set of volunteers we are having from the University of Worcester. So, we also worked with the University of Hallam in Sheffield, and that's how the introductions came. And I cannot forget, because gratitude is the best attitude. And you have to go back to Harvey Anderson, professor. He organized many volunteers for the last 7-8 years, and then he introduced me to Professor Craig Williams, right? And then he took this upon, and now 2 more, 4 have already come to volunteer. And I always say about volunteering, because volunteering is priceless, right? Especially because they give of their time. And the time that they give cannot be relived, right? It's gone. So unlike anything else, whether it's, your wealth, any other knowledge factor, or even, let's say your energy, you can actually get it back. But the time that you expend is something that is so precious, so praiseworthy and admirable. So, and they volunteer out of compassion, right? So they could have done something else in this period, and the fact that they have come here and given their best to those who are really in the rural community background, disadvantaged but hugely talented, a lot of skill set, the potential they have is absolutely, remarkable, and they just trigger that off, whether they teach skill set, the nutrition factor, or whether they, of course they're both studying to become top cricket coaches, so they must have learned a lot on spin bowling, and of course we will learn from them, how to meet that barrage of pace. So, but leave that banter aside. They actually come and impart their knowledge hugely, because when they learn, they are proactive. They look at ChatGPT, so many things they go into, and then they leave like a manual for us, leave a recommendation, suggestions, and the observations. So we use those for future budding cricketers, but they have seen from under 13 to under 19, what kind of cricket around us exists, and the players themselves, and some of them, are grooming to become, national top cricketers into the future. So their contribution has been immense. We are very grateful, and I know when you do the best for others, you actually experience the best for yourself. So it's Suraj and Aman, and the combination is they're British, but they're of Indian and Pakistan origin. And here it is, they've got together, they worked very closely, they have, built bridges of friendship, and they are on their way to helping others in Sri Lanka. So it's a good combination, coming from Britain, but of Indian Pakistan origin, and in Sri Lanka, doing the best to harness the talent of Sri Lankans to shine through. So we are very grateful, Aman and Suraj, for your time here. I always take this opportunity to acknowledge, value, and praise your effort, and I know for sure what you put into the universe will be granted to you at the time you least expect. So I know you don't expect anything in return actually when you work as a volunteer, but it's our duty to remind that also in advancing years you will rejoice greatly of the work that you did, and when you are leaving, obviously you'll get a lovely volunteer certificate, the memorabilia that you would get to showcase of the work that you have done, the background and everything. So if you have a bad day by any chance, guys, just look at what you've done, and then you'll get back that energy to overcome any I don't know, negative or toxic thought. But from my point, serving those who cannot repay the favor is the true hallmark of a fine character, and what you've done truly resonates with us, and may you both go from success to success, from light to light, and experience more good fortune.
Yes, that's a wonderful introduction, Kushal, and great to see our descendants of our fellow South Asian neighbors here in Sri Lanka. And it's always a very nice rivalry banter whenever Sri Lanka plays with our fellow South Asian neighbors. I've personally enjoyed it a lot. So I would like to ask you how, so you've been volunteering here for over a month, I think almost a month, and then so that means you probably have some very nice stories to share with us. I would like to start off by asking, how has your experience been volunteering at the Foundation of Goodness?
So I guess I introduce myself before I begin. So I'm Suraj, currently 20 years old. I'm studying at the University of Worcester doing a cricket coaching and management course. We're in our third year. And so one of our placement modules for this year was to do work placement. We was given an option of being in the UK or coming abroad, and we thought, why not go abroad? So two of our classmates who have also been interviewed as well. So we we was obviously looking out for placement opportunities, and we found out that they're in Sri Lanka as well. So we thought, why not go down as well and see how it is? And honestly, where do I start? It's been so good. Like, we've loved it so far. I guess I was a bit homesick for the first 2-3 days. It took a while to settle in, but yeah, we're having a great time, and yeah, it's been brilliant.
Yes, just sort of adding on from him, our classmates had been here for a while as well, and from the time we sort of got to Sri Lanka up until now, it's genuinely been quite a bit of a journey. On the first few days, it was a little bit sort of being homesick, sort of missing home, but I think throughout the time in Sri Lanka, especially in Senegama, the people have been quite nice. The community is quite positive, and we've genuinely felt quite welcomed. In Sri Lanka, we haven't really felt like we're foreigners or we belong from an outside sort of environment. The people have genuinely been quite hospitable, and it's genuinely been quite a bit of a pleasure to be here.
That's great to hear. So Kushal did mention some of what you have been doing, but I would love to hear from your own words. What have you been doing as volunteers here?
Are you worried about the future upcoming talent that we can take on India and Pakistan?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I think we've had that conversation between ourselves.
Definitely. Yeah, I think we've done a range of stuff really since we've been here. So obviously we specialise in cricket coaching. That's like our primary background. But we've helped children with English. We've helped them, simple things like counting up to 10 and English. Some stuff in business. Also taking on ladies and women's coaching as well in cricket. And obviously helping out younger children, younger boys especially with their cricket as well. So we've done a range of stuff. We've been all over the place, but yeah, it's been good. Yeah.
Yes, just adding on to that, we've sort of been ranging from 5-6-year-old kids up until about 13-14-year-olds, just sort of working between the ages, sort of from the 5-6-year-olds, sort of helping them learn grammar, learn English, really quite basic, up until quite an advanced intermediate level. So it's not something that we're quite used to, because we do sort of specialise in cricket coaching, but it's been a pleasure to sort of gain new experiences and sort of experience new environments as well. And on about the Sri Lankan talent, we're quite concerned. We've had this conversation as well, and it's looking quite positive for Sri Lanka in terms of cricket for the future.
Yeah, I mean, how do you see? I mean, I know you're two big fans, and we are three here. From Sri Lanka, you're from Suraj, you're from India, and then Aman, you're from Pakistan. And we play, similar brand of cricket, being Asian. So, what is your, observation and gathering, seeing under 13, under 15, 17, and 19? I know it's in the rural areas, but still, the talent. I mean, is it identical to what you see in Pakistan and India, or is it that there are some other areas that you see which is not really directly compatible, or what? So I like to listen to that kind of understanding.
Yes, of course. I have sort of recognized there is a common trend between the South Asian countries, between the three countries.
Yeah,
they love cricket. It's just cricket all day, every single day. And when it comes to sort of the talent, I feel like me and him were sort of born in England, so we've sort of used to that cricketing environment in England. But from what we know from sort of family and sort of experiences, I feel like the three countries are quite talented, but because of the lack of sort of structure in the three countries, a lot of the talent doesn't get recognised. So there becomes a bit of an issue with talent development and actually getting cricketers to play at that top level. But we've had this conversation between ourselves, and we've the children and the people in India and Pakistan, they do enjoy their cricket, but there's a different sort of passion that the Sri Lankans have towards cricket. Like, we're walking through the streets and we're seeing children sort of playing cricket in the 30, 35 degrees heat, and we're like, well, that doesn't happen in England. It's quite miserable in England, especially at this time of the year. But they genuinely do enjoy their cricket, and you can genuinely tell that there is a passion to play cricket, and they are looking to improve the game as the days come by, and the coaches are quite helpful as well. I mean, we've tried to do our part as well, give as much input as we possibly could. We are quite young compared to the other coaches, so there is there's a vast of experience there. But other than that, we've tried to sort of be as helpful as we possibly can, and hopefully the Foundation of Goodness can just continue to produce cricketers. I know you've produced cricketers that have played at the national level before, so hopefully you can continue to do the same.
Yeah, I mean, without your support and expertise and assistance over the years of so many of you coming here and doing what you know best has definitely enabled us to, keep going on that road. And I know many have made it, and especially now that the girls have got really interested, and I thank you both for also, training some girls. I mean, in the under 19 team, we've had about 6 or 7 of them from the school that we support and in our academy. So, but one of the things that I see, I don't know whether this is evident in Pakistan and India, but of course I know you're born and bred in Britain, but one of the things that I see in Sri Lanka, sadly, is I look after cricket of one of the schools that actually is very well known for cricket. From the school that we support and in our academy. So, but one of the things that I see, I don't know whether this is evident in Pakistan and India, but of course I know you're born and bred in Britain, but one of the things that I see in Sri Lanka, sadly, is I look after cricket of one of the schools that actually is very well known for cricket. The highest number of international cricketers are produced from that school called Ananda College. And when I look at all the schools, we've got the infrastructure. We've got an amazing infrastructure for school cricket. But the funny part is that we haven't still won the Under-19 World Cup. I remember I was the secretary of the Under-19 World Cup when we first had the World Cup here, and then at that time in 2000 we came into the finals. And since then we may have made a semi-final. I think Pakistan has won, India has won, Afghanistan has won, and Sri Lanka hasn't. And we boast of the best schools infrastructure that we have. But I'm beginning to think, because I've been part of a cricket administration, played first class cricket, but I'm thinking that there's a lot of overcoaching. So because of the overcoaching, that I feel lots of the captain material is getting undermined, because they look at the coach and say, look, could I do this move or not? And the coach remote controls, and that's a very sad sight to see. And I've actually told a few coaches that, I have seen controlling them from the pavilion is really alarming. Because if a captain sees a situation and his gut feel, he thinks, okay, I can bring Aman now to bowl. But before giving the ball to you, he looks at the coach. And the coach say, no, give it to Suraj. Right? So that is, I think, is a real big problem, because I think the coaches here, I'm not afraid to speak because it's the truth. The coaches here love to identify themselves saying, I made a cricketer into the national team. I'm not really working very hard on my team. I'm working with individuals who can get there, and then you make a name. So does that by any chance, and also I'm not a big fan of favoring pitchers to win matches, home advantage, So, does this, I know in every country, they'll make the pitch to favor their conditions. That's fine. But it has to also got a balance, because what happens is when we then go overseas, then we struggle, right? So what in your opinion is that background, whether it's India and Pakistan?
I think, I agree with the part where you said about how a lot of coaches they have almost like an authoritarian management type, so they really dictate their players. And I think me and Aman have went to a lot of sessions where we see this happen, and it's almost as if the players aren't allowed to have any, power over what they're doing. And I think, especially in England, we're level 2 now, and when we went through our level 2 qualification, we go through a lot of strategies that you have to take on board to complete the qualification. So one of them is the use of silence. So during your coaching or your sessions and stuff like that, you stay quiet and just let the players do what they want. And after that, you can see whether they're making any mistakes or they're going on the right track and stuff like that. I think that's something that maybe Sri Lankan coaches need to take on board, because even now we've just come back from a coaching session in the morning, and I was out in the middle next to a head coach from Sri Lanka, and after every ball he's got something to say, and it's like, just give him a bit of breathing space maybe. And it also might be an element of how coaches here, they almost might fear that if they don't say anything, they look like they're not helping out. So this isn't the case. I mean, sometimes you may have to just step back and let bowlers get on with it, because as we all know, in Sri Lanka, cricket's like a religion here. So literally every kid that we see in the street is playing cricket. It's got a ball in their hand, there's a bat, everyone's looking forward to play cricket. We see so many kids turn up to so many sessions, and they obviously want to get better at cricket. And I think one main important point of making them get better at cricket is definitely to let them make their own decisions, and I think that's something that's lacking. And I think in recent times, I haven't been India myself, but the last time I went to India was when I was 11. But I think it's a similar problem in India as well. I think especially because there's more rural areas in countries like Asia, in Asian countries, and I think you see this problem quite often. We're more privileged in England, so we have the benefit of more qualified coaches and stuff like that. But it's definitely something I've seen in my time in Sri Lanka.
Just sort of adding on from him, you talked about the idea of overcoaching. Recently, especially going through the coaching qualifications, we're sort of taught to go against overcoaching, sort of put it to the side, because I feel like overcoaching is an idea where coaches almost put too much input into the athletes. Sort of seen that today as well, and we've seen it through our trip in Sri Lanka. And I think you can take ideas from like England right now, Brendan McCullum being the head coach. I think during the one of the series, I think against New Zealand, a lot of the players sort of, they got bowled out for a very small score, but Brendan McCullum didn't really say much about it. He almost has one way of working, and he's made that clear to his players, and he's given them the authority to think and to act upon their own decisions. And England was sort of moving in the coaching sort of context, we're moving towards a more democratic approach. So making the athletes sort of the center of practice and the center of training, and almost just being a supportive sort of role model within that environment, letting them learn, letting them make the mistakes, and letting them learn from their mistakes. And when it comes to obviously the problem with not winning the Under-19 World Cup, I do think it's a common issue throughout South Asia. It's almost like, you're playing, but it's, you're not winning anything. And I do feel like there has to be that link from coaching to the players where there is some sort of problem. There might be more than one problem. But that sort of comes from the board and the coaches and how they work together to produce a team that can go abroad and can win World Cups. But that solely depends on how coaches and how the cricket board functions.
I mean, I've seen this happen over and over again. So in recent times, the Sri Lankan team changed the course of direction under the leadership and of Sanath Jayasuriya coming in as coach. And always we've had foreign coaches, but now I think it was the right move in my opinion, because the time has come to also honor cricketers who've done really well, because they know the conditions, they know the culture, they know the systems in place and all of that. So he's able to probably, and they look up to him, right? He's done wonders as a top player. So if you take him and Ramesh Kalwitar, they changed the course of cricket in 1 day. Went out there, they were given authority, they just went bashing in the first 10 overs, and normally they reversed the last 10 overs to the top 10, right, and became like a benchmark, so to say, and then we went on to win the 96 World Cup. So unless you give that authority and say, not to control them, you can point out your mistakes and, and also the way of saying it, how they feel, how they have to work. Each one has a different kind of strategy. I mean, I've been Murali's manager for 20 odd years, and I know how he got there. Pressure is a privilege for champions. So they actually work very hard. I mean, I remember Murali, when he surpassed Shane Warne at 704 wickets or something, he still, got me to book the nets on his own, and he kept a shoe in 1 wicket and kept bowling and bowling and bowling. And he would do that like 15-20 overs, right? He's broken the world record. Why would he do that? But that's how champions are made of, right? Hard work is hard to beat. And then, they are given the freedom to go and perform. If a cricketer at 13, 15, 17 is actually going to be learning how to look at the coach, then, their own initiatives and their own strengths, of their gut feel, is not going to get applicable to the, when they're in the middle. So, and you look at Sri Lanka, we lost the first 2 games in England badly, right? Then they were, I think, probably given the green light, play your brand of cricket. And they played so well in that Surrey game. And from there was no looking back, right? We've won against India, we've won against West Indies, we've gone against New Zealand, and, we are on now a high, completely reversing. So I think we got to believe in the players, have faith, have confidence. Yes, the experts are there to fine tune, in a way how they play the game. So, I think, from the two of you coming from England, we learned so much. And I think the players themselves have given us the feedback that, your help has actually really worked very well for them, because sometimes the coaches are taken for granted here, and also you have trained the trainers as well. I know when they come here, I tell them, don't, have any fear to tell the trainers, what you think. Like you said right now, there's not a single ball that they don't make a comment on, right? So even if it's a good ball. So, and Sri Lanka produces a lot of unorthodox cricketers, right? And I remember once Nasser Hussain, commentating, and he said, if these guys came to practice, we would have told them to go home and not play cricket. But now we have to actually reverse, this trend. I mean, let's say Malinga, right, coming to bowl. Who would have thought? Now we are producing so many Malingas. Dhoni takes on one, and now look at where he's going, So, and whether it's a Dil Scoop, whether it's Sanat Jasuri playing shots from the first ball, and then Murali, of course, so they never give up. They stay positive, look ahead and do the best you can. So, but thanks very much. You have helped us. We are very grateful. And this will be stored in the universe, as I said, and will come back to you, in many folds. And I always say that, when you say nice things, think of good thoughts, do good things, eventually it comes back to you. So I know you're young, you have a long way to go, but, I hope to see you as top coaches of, not only in a state level, but at the highest level of taking on a nation. So, who knows, you might come back to coach Sri Lanka in some way or the other. Because now it's just the head coach is one, but you have so many other coaches, so, it didn't exist, those days. I remember another story. I was sitting with Colin Croft, at the Lord's, MCC, in the president's box, and he was showing the Lord's, dressing room, and said, those days we had our, 14, and we had only one, the manager and a coach. That's it. And told me, if I bowl badly, I know I bowl badly, so I have to get back to the side and bowl better. So, I mean, that's in banter, but still, I think just given the freedom for them to do what they know best. You look at Paul Adams, how he bowled. It's very different. So people copy, and who would have thought that Dilshan would invent a dill scope? Things like that. Kumar bats for maybe 1,000 balls. So it's like that. But thanks very much again, for coming here, Aman and Suraj. You've done some amazing work to impact the lives of others in need in your specialized area as well. And a lot of them also, because they can't speak with you in our own native language, there's no choice but to speak with you in English, and that also has helped for them to improve their proficiency in English. So really grateful, and as you go in your life, these blessings will count the most, and also your self-worth will enhance in time to come. So thanks again, really, really grateful, and many, many blessings for your well-being and happiness. Is anything to wind up? Yeah, go ahead. Anything to wind up, or you want to say something? Or
I think I just want to touch on just the thing, like a phrase that's really stayed with me since I've been here, and I think it will forever. Really, I think I heard you mention it when we had I think it was a different evening, and it was that gratitude is the best attitude. And I think just since we've been here, we just take it for granted how privileged we really are in countries like England, and just small things which children in Sri Lanka would literally dream of. And just simple things like, I don't know, finishing all your food on the plate, just things like that. Really, it's like you're gonna look at life in a different perspective and make sure you're really grateful for everything you get, because in Sri Lanka, especially what we've seen in Sinigama, life can get quite hard. So just help people where you can, and hopefully we've impacted the lives of a few. And
and I hope you come back again.
Yeah, definitely. To be fair, we've already said, like, hopefully if all goes well in the future, we do really want to visit Sinigama again. And I think people here are just a bit too nice. I don't know. People are too nice here. It's something which you don't really get in England. Every time you walk past someone, people are smiling, saying hello. And it's completely the opposite in England, I'd say. People, I'd rather read that.
It might be too cold for them to smile. So.
Just sort of adding on from here, it's genuinely been quite a bit of a humbling experience. Sort of agreeing with the fact that we are quite ungrateful in countries like England, and there's just stuff here that we see with our own eyes, but we don't really look at it with the same perspective in England. Something simple as just giving a little child a high five genuinely makes their day, puts a smile on their face, and something like that we don't really have in England. And you can genuinely tell that they are quite grateful for not only what you're doing and the input you're putting in, but just your presence and you being there and helping them out. They do appreciate it. I mean, we do a lot of stuff within schools and within cricket environments back in England as well, and there is quite a bit of a difference in how the attitude that the kids have and how they sort of appreciate the input that you give. I know it is a different environment, but it's still the same sort of environment, the same sort of context, the cricketing context that we all sort of specialise in, and it's genuinely been quite a good experience, quite a humbling experience, and sort of like to thank the Foundation of Goodness for sort of hosting us and giving us a good experience.
I'm so pleased, and I can't forget your Professor Craig Williams. When I spoke to him the first time after Professor Harvey Anderson introduced me to him, and I still remember that call, and he was asking me so many questions. He wasn't really sure because of the recommendation that he called me, but I must say, after that he found that this seems like a good program to get involved in. And then Sam and Rice came along, and then the two of you followed soon after, and I'm sure many more will come, and especially with our ladies cricket also becoming a force to reckon with. And I'm sure things will happen, and nothing multiplies, as I said, always, so much as kindness. And thank you. And as a human being, we look to instill good values, because the way you can actually end up being happy is by having values in your system. Studying is important, education, but it's having the values that will make you a better, happier, content person. So thank you very much indeed, and many blessings again. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
With that, a fantastic segment is over right now. We had a nice conversation. Thank you so much again and again. Thank you so much, Mr. Kushil and three of them for joining with us today. The time right now is 3:90 p.m. Saturday, 7th of December 2024. I invite everyone who listening to us to with us until 5 p.m. today. We will be right back with another segment in Good News Radio after this quick break with a lovely show. This is Good News.